have no self-will to think that Providence would take a child from his mother while she prays is appalling. Who told us we'd be rescued? What has changed and why should we be saved from nightmares? We're asking why this happens to us who have died to live. It's unfair. This is what it means to be held, how it feels when the sacred is torn from your life and you survive. This is what it is to be loved and to know that the promise was when everything fell, we'd be held. This hand is bitterness. We want to taste it, let the hatred know our sorrow. The wise hand opens slowly to lilies of the valley, and tomorrow. This is what it means to be held, how it feels when the sacred is torn from your life and you survive. This is what it is to be loved and to know that the promise was when everything fell, we'd be held. If hope is born of suffering, if this is only the beginning, can we not wait for 1 hour, watching for our Savior? This is what it means to be held, how it feels when the sacred is torn from your life and you survive. This is what it is to be loved and to know that the promise was when everything fell, we'd be This is what it means to be held.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. Hello, Donna. Hello, Jonna. Hello, Donna. Look at us. All that are live rhyme. We got two Donnas, a Shauna, and a Jonna. Must mean something. I watched a movie the other night called Nanas or Nonas, however you want to pronounce it. I'm saying Nana because it rhymes with Shauna. And was laughing with my daughter because we're always talking about like, you know, one day, hopefully, I'll be a grandma, and what will my name be? And she likes to say she's going to tell her kids to call me Shawana, which she knows I do not like. And so I'm always trying to find something. So I was like, well, I could be a Nana Shana. And my daughter said, you're not Italian. I'm,
Well, Nana
I'm
sounds
not Shawana either. So
N Nana sounds pretty.
I know.
I like Nana Shauna.
Not a Shauna. So we'll see what happens. I say, whatever they call me, but we can always help them, hello, it's not a Shauna. So anyway,
Yeah.
my mom was nanny to Nana. So when they're younger, they always said nanny. And then as they got older, they said Nana or Nana. Not Nana, Nana. Um, so yeah, but anyway, I
And,
love
and one time the kids were talking and I said something was said about my name and they said, "What your name's whatever it was." They were calling me Nana, and I was like, "No, it's my name is Jonna." And they were like, "We thought that was your name." It's like, well, it is, but it's just saying grandma or nanny or granny or grandma, grandmother or whatever. So
Yep.
yeah.
Yep. It's funny, but I just love that we all rhyme. I don't know why we're all here that rhyme, but those that are watching the replay, welcome, welcome also. Today we are going to be talking, and I have no idea why when I started recording it said that it's limited. So we may get cut off right at 11 o'clock. So I'm just letting y'all know the goal is to be done by 11. And partly because we might be cut off. I'm going to have to figure that out. I don't know why it said that. Also, wouldn't let me record to the cloud, only to my computer. So who knows? It seems like every time I get on, Zoom has done something new, or there's been some changes inside my platform that I have all this stuff on. And as things change there, I might need to go in and make changes and just not know about it. So I always find out things as I'm on here doing it. Hi, Christina. So today our topic for this practice is abandonment. And I have shared this before, and I actually think I might have some videos of this before too. So I might put them in the email that I send out. I meant to look just because I've shared before, right? This isn't the first time, but I'm always learning more. And so today I'm going to be sharing some things that I haven't shared before. But this is really about a practice session. So I'm only going to spend a few minutes talking about this. If this is something y'all are interested in learning more about, in the email that I'm going to send out later with the replay, I'm going to say a little bit of that information and you let me know if this is something you're interested in learning more about. And we can maybe go that direction. Donna's already raising her hand. But for today, I just want to explain why we're going to practice this abandonment release because a lot of times people are like, well, I wasn't abandoned. And that's great. Right. But there is a lot of information out there that we all have truly been abandoned. And so I want to bring that up. And then there's times that we feel like we've been abandoned when really that isn't abandonment. So I want to bring that up also. And so I did make a couple worksheets for you that we're going to be able to go over. But again, what we are diving into is truly the deepest emotional pattern that can keep us stuck in cycles of fear, loneliness, and disconnection. Okay. And it is linked to this emotion of abandonment. So, um, there are other emotions attached to the lavender essential oil. Lavender is the essential oil that I chose for this month. Whether we'll get to any of those or not, I'm not sure because I always like to start with abandonment. First, it's the emotion listed number one, and maybe it's because of the alphabet, but there's other reasons too. In the Releasing Emotional Patterns with Essential Oils book, and also the emotion code chart. It's row one, column one, the first thing. So, um, this is an emotion again that we all have experienced. And it's actually linked to the small intestine. So anybody that might have small intestine issues, and if you're like, I don't even know if I have a small intestine issue, it's okay. We're not going there today. It's also associated with the heart. Okay. And that's because attachment is one of the most foundational human experiences. Okay. So we have attachment and we have abandonment. We're both wired for attachment, right? And if that connection is disrupted, Either gently or traumatically, it leaves a lasting emotional imprint that we call abandonment. Okay, so we all have attachment, and if that attachment is ever broken as a child in the womb, all the way till they usually say, up to 10, that's kind of those beginning years, then we can have this abandonment. All right. So again, attachment begins in the womb. We literally begin life attached via the umbilical cord to our mother. Okay. She is our lifeline throughout that time that we're in the womb. Separation from her, even in a normal birth, whatever we want to call a normal birth today, right, can register as trauma. Now, the interesting thing is some of this information that I've been learning is really talking about how things used to be done compared to how things are done today when it comes to the birth of a child, as in the umbilical cord's actually the perfect length for the baby to stay on the chest for they say hours until that umbilical cord stops beating. We don't usually see this. When the baby comes out, they cut it, right? And so what can happen during this time when the umbilical cord is cut is something that we call trauma. Now, a lot of times we think of trauma as being something really serious, and not to say this isn't really serious because some of the information they're finding, but trauma is really anything that is too much, too little, could be too much for too long. It could be too little for too long, or something that is too much too fast, or too little too fast. So I am going to go back to the umbilical cord, right? If the baby has just come out, that is pretty often quick or just traumatic in itself, right? And this is the only thing this baby has ever known, right? Is this attachment to the mother, and that is cut. This lifeline is cut. This is how they've been getting blood and food and everything else, and now it is cut. Okay. I want you just to think for just a second. If I was just to go and cut your arm off all of a sudden, would that be traumatic? Right? Um, and the thought of that never being attached again, right? Like it's never going to happen. The baby is never going to be attached to the mother through the umbilical cord again. Now, there's other ways that this baby can receive attachment, which we're going to get to in a few minutes. Okay. So, again, something as ordinary, this happens to every person that is ever born, right? Cutting the umbilical cord too soon or removing the baby before they feel safe can be a core imprint of abandonment. All right. Even before we have language or memory, it is in our body. And this is important because a lot of times we just go to our mind. And again, we might have memories of abandonment that we might say, well, I've never been abandoned. Or two, we might have, oh, I was abandoned here, and have these thoughts and feelings, not realizing that it could all be attached to this beginning moment that occurred when we were born. Okay. So I'd like to share 6 core attachment needs, and I'm going to bring up, if y'all were able to print off this Healing the Pattern of Abandonment. Let me see if I can get it shared here with y'all. If you weren't able to print it, feel free to write anything down, okay? So going back to abandonment, I want to talk about the pattern of abandonment, right? So a lot of times what happens is, let's go back to birth. We all now, right, know that the umbilical cord was cut and we went from attachment to abandonment in that moment, right? If that pattern continues, it builds from our body to our brain this pattern process, okay? I was abandoned, and my body feels it whenever we were cut from the umbilical cord, and then something else could happen. I've shared this before. My mom knows that I've shared this before, right? Nothing that my mom did, so just let y'all know. I mean, she did it, but it's not purposeful. We've all done this to our children. I specifically have a memory of being left at the daycare, it raining outside, and seeing her from the window leaving. Okay. And I can still feel what that felt like as a small child. All right. If I ever work on this releasing abandonment, that's what I go to because that is a memory that I have that's attached to my body. Does that make sense? Okay. I was at an age, my mom took me to daycare every day. Why I have this one memory, or it could be, this is why I'm bringing up pattern. It could be a pattern that occurred every time that she left, right? Whenever we have an attachment to our mother, now no longer to the umbilical cord, but in other ways, our mother typically is the one who takes care of us, right? They feed us, they love us, they hold us, they do all the things. And so, a lot of times we'll talk about um, child anxiety, baby anxiety, because they're being taken from their mother, or left from, mother taking them to daycare or a babysitter, or just leaving them with dad or whatever, right? We have to understand that this is something that this baby or child that doesn't even know it is attached to. Okay. That doesn't mean we can't ever leave our babies, right? It doesn't mean we did anything wrong. We've all done it. It means that there's some things that can cause these patterns to occur within our body and in our brain. Okay. Now, there's actually 6 core attachment needs that we have. And so we're not going to go deep into this, y'all, but I just want to share what these 6 are. And then you can see from here where it says when unmet may look like. And if you've ever felt this in your story, right? This doesn't have to be what we call truth, right? My mom did not abandon me when she left me at the daycare. She picked me up later, right? But when she left, I could have that feeling because of a pattern. Okay. So, some attachment needs hold me. This is physical closeness and comfort. Okay. If a baby or a child didn't feel held, okay, didn't get the hold me that they needed to change this pattern of abandonment that may have occurred just by cutting off the umbilical cord, they may feel a difficulty relaxing. They may feel alone, even if there's people around, and they might always be in their head. Okay. If that feels like you, feel free to mark it. Okay. And another attachment need is hear me. They might have thoughts and emotions. This is when they're acknowledged. Okay. They're listened to, they're acknowledged. If that attachment need was not met, they might feel unheard, dismissed, or invisible. So if you've ever felt that, you can mark that. Okay. Another one is support me, encouragement to explore and grow. Okay. Go have fun, go move, not bundled up where they can't ever get anywhere, not able to move in a car seat all the time, whatever. This can lead to victim mentality, feeling incapable or stuck. So if that's you, feel free to move and mark that. See me, this is being truly noticed and validated for who you are. Okay. The true you. And so what this could look like is they might feel like they always need to perform for love. They might feel unseen. And then understand me is emotional needs met with empathy. Okay. And if they didn't feel that, get that attachment need, then they might feel like they need to people please or they're over apologizing, always saying, I'm sorry. And then there's love me. And this is consistent, safe, and unconditional love. All right. And this is also when can be common for neglect or abuse, or can actually occur with sexual abuse. And this can lead to perfectionism, feeling unworthy, and craving validation. Okay. So I bring this up because we often carry the fear of abandonment because of emotional patterning with any of these core attachment needs that may not have been met. Okay. And again, this isn't just about, okay, we all have this, but we all do, right? Because we've all been released from our mother at a point at birth. Okay. And so what can happen is we can hold on to this and we can store this. The good news here is, y'all, we are now adults. Okay. And the adult self can release this fear of abandonment and can work on these 6 core attachment needs. Okay. And this isn't about us going back and bringing up the story over and over and over again. This isn't about us having to figure out, like, where did my abandonment, fear of abandonment occur? This is actually working on releasing and integrating our inner child to our adult self. Okay. And so, again, we need to understand that as adults today, that we no longer can be abandoned by somebody. And I don't know, for some people, this is kind of a hard, they're like, oh, well, my husband left me and I was abandoned. Really, that is something totally different. Okay. However, doesn't mean we can't feel abandoned because of a link and a pattern that we had before. Okay. Now I'm going to bring up my youngest son is going to be moving August 15th, 4.5 hours away. My youngest son cannot abandon me, but I can tell you there's moments, and I might cry right now, right? That I can picture I feel that picture that I was sharing earlier, right? And so understanding this really can help us to release and move forward when we have these feelings come up. It is not wrong to feel these feelings. What is wrong is when it's stuck and we don't let it move through so that we can make changes. Okay? So, um, looking at my notes, sometimes I don't want to miss anything. Okay. Again, abandonment can only happen to children, and we are able to release this pattern and or integrate our inner child with the adult we are today, and we call this At-One-ment. And why I bring this up is because one, that's the other side of abandonment, At-One-ment. But as an adult, it is different than it was as a child. So I still have these attachment needs up here. This hold me, hear me, support me, see me, understand me, love me. We still need those things, right? Even if the inner child in us either didn't get it or didn't feel it because they had this pattern of abandonment going on, okay, then it's something that we can still work on today. The thing is these things we do in connection with others. Okay. This connection with others could be, y'all, we are all here together right now through Zoom. This is a connection. Okay. We are connecting. Now, can I hold you right now through this connection? Yes and no, right? I can't give you a physical hold, but I can hold space, this moment in time that we are holding together, okay? And we can all hold ourselves, right? We can all take our right hand, put it on our left shoulder, take our left hand, put it on our right shoulder, right? Now, is that exactly like someone else holding us? No, okay? But it is a start and it is a way to support ourselves if we are feeling a difficulty time to relax, if we're feeling alone, or if we're getting in our head. Okay, so I want you to know that. The same thing with the hear me, the support me, and all the way down. So, At-One-ment literally means being at one, a state of unity, harmony, and wholeness. Okay, so in emotional healing, it's the opposite of separation, the opposite of rejection, and the opposite of abandonment. I use my three fingers here when I say spiritually, emotionally, and physically, we are together, right? Our beings are connected. That is At-One-ment. Okay. Now, it's the deep inner knowing that you are not alone, that you belong, and that you are safe and accepted both spiritually and emotionally and physically. Okay. And it reflects this reconnection with ourselves, with others, and with God. So I was sharing a song by Natalie Grant earlier called Held because I love that song. But we have to remember, right? Even if there's not somebody else around, God is always there for us. Okay. And we need to always be here for ourselves. And sometimes that's the hard part. Okay. And so, who's ready to release the pattern of abandonment? Do you have your lavender essential oil? Can you do this without lavender? Yes. Can it make a bigger difference? A little easier? Yes. Okay. So, I'm going to go over here to our emotional health worksheet. Again, this is the emotion abandonment. The other side is at-one-ment. The affirmation that we're going to be using through this experience is I embrace all of life's experiences. All right. So I shared an experience that I had that is in my memory brain, right? And I can embrace that life experience. As a mother, I can embrace it totally different than I probably could at 2 or 3, however old I was, when I experienced that, right? Because I just said, how many times did I leave my kids someplace, right? Like whether I was leaving them with their nana or with their dad or with a babysitter or a daycare or a Mother's Day out or whatever, right? Um, I can empathize with that, right? Go ahead, Mom.
I guess I remember that day too because when we got to the daycare, you loved it there, and you would always like run in. I was lucky if I could get a hug,
Right.
and so I don't, looking back now, I wish I, knew if something happened that morning on the way there, something was said, we watched a movie. I don't know, but you were crying, and I didn't want to leave, and the girl that worked there, she said she'll be okay, she'll be okay, and I remember walking out the door and I even peeked back in the window, and you had ran over there and started playing with other kids. But I don't know. Like I said, it wasn't a scary place. It wasn't an unknown place. Usually you loved it, and like I said, I was lucky if I got a hug when we got in because you want to go play with your friends and play on the toys and stuff. So I don't know what that, but I do. I remember that day. It was a hard day for me too.
Yeah. And see, and that's the thing is why that day? Why do I still have that? There's 100 and we don't have to know the why. And that's my point is because we all have had that feeling at some point and it can go back to that birth, right? For whatever moment in time that day, I wanted my mommy, right? Have we all had that day before? Right? Okay. And so, yeah. And that's the thing. If you have a memory, you can utilize it right now. If you don't, if you have, like Mom was just saying, she remembers that day with me, right? She can have empathy, right, of what that felt like, that separation. Hers was different. She wasn't, as an adult, she couldn't be abandoned by her child, like I was saying with Bryce, that's going to be leaving, right? But she could have the abandonment pattern within her. And so that empathy comes up, that feeling can come up. Okay, so I want y'all to see, I always say the chicken and the egg. Which comes first? It's both ways. Highway goes both ways. All right. So, the alarm point, interestingly enough, right, is near our belly button. So we can take this lavender in just a minute. I'm going to walk you through the process, but we can put this on our waist right above the belly button all the way across. Okay. And then I have this Bible verse. Even if my father and mother abandon me, the Lord will hold me close. Okay. Because again, we've all had that feeling of abandonment when we were released, detached, right? No longer attached to our mother. But some have been abandoned by their parents in other ways other than just being left at daycare and having fun the rest of the day, right? Like there's other types of abandonment. So I want y'all to remember the Lord is always here to hold us close. Okay. And as an adult, that's where we can go. So we are going to walk through this. Now, you can go ahead and take your lavender. And I'm going to stop my share because I'm just going to walk y'all through this. Well, no, I'm going to go ahead and keep my share on. Never mind. That way y'all can see it if you need to see it. Okay. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to take our oil And I want you to put your hand on the back of your head. This is your brain stem. This is the part of your brain that is working at birth. Okay. And then we're going to put our hand on our frontal brain. This is the part of our brain that is really supposed to be active as an adult. Okay. This is the part that we want to connect that baby self of us at birth and that self of us right now, this adult self, who we are today. Okay. And I just want you to take a moment and just think about that baby, the little you is within you, and that you, an adult today. And every experience that occurred from the moment you were conceived in the womb till today is all right here. Every pattern. Is that not amazing? Everything that ever occurred is between our brainstem and our forebrain. Every experience is connected to us. I can feel like a pulsating in my hands. Now I want you to take it and I want you to inhale it. Because we're going to get that lavender into our brain in another way now, through our olfactory, right into our limbic system. And I want you to just take a moment to feel what it feels like to be abandoned. And again, this could be a memory that you have, or it could just be a feeling. It could be the fear of abandonment, afraid that this could happen. Even though as an adult, you cannot be abandoned. So you're in a safe place to allow yourself to feel this feeling, because how we heal is we have to feel. You can put it above your small intestine. If you need to get more, you can, or you can just use what you already have right above that belly button. I'm going to attach it there. Inhale, and we're going to say the words, I embrace all of life's experiences. I can embrace that experience of birth. I can embrace that moment at the daycare. I can embrace all the life experiences between those two times and from then to now. And you can picture yourself moving from abandonment to at-one-ment, being one with yourself, being connected to others, being connected to God. Take a nice deep breath in and let out that which no longer serves you. want you to take a moment. We're going to use that word at-one-ment again. And I want you to take a moment and I want you to feel, and again, if a thought comes up, you can utilize that. You can visualize something different if you would like. A lot of times I like to picture that bridge, and on the other side, Jesus has his arms open and waiting for me. But I want you to feel what it feels like to be at one with yourself. You can pick whatever other you want to pick. You can pick God, you can pick Jesus, but you feel that connection. And you can even just take your hands and put your hands together and bring them close to your heart, whether it's in a prayer position or just clasped at one. And our goal here is we really want to connect spiritually, emotionally, and physically. We want all of that to come together at one-ment. So even though as a small baby, we were detached, and we may have just had the feeling, I just want to be held, hold me. And maybe they stuck you in a basket so they could weigh you and do all the things that they're thinking is the most important when that baby just wants to be held. Take a moment and hold yourself. Or you can picture your mom holding you, or you can picture someone else holding you, or you can picture Jesus holding you. And then we're going to move to hear me. And I want you to feel heard. What does it feel like to feel heard? Maybe again, a moment comes up that you really felt heard, or maybe something comes up and you just wish they heard you. And you can visualize that, say it again, and this time they hear you. Or maybe you're walking across that bridge and you're moving towards Jesus, and you just want to say, thank you for hearing me. And then support me. Maybe there was a time you didn't feel supported. Maybe again, it can go all the way, and that baby just wants to feel that support that it felt within the womb. I mean, just imagine, I love the water. I can just imagine being in that watery place, feeling that all around my body. That support, that tightness, that holding on to. Maybe you walk across the bridge and you just let Jesus support you and hold you tight. And then see me. If you've ever felt unseen, picture yourself being seen right now, either by yourself, by the person you felt like didn't see you, or again, walk to Jesus. He can see you. Let him look into you. Let him see you. Just allow yourself to feel seen. Understand me. If you've ever felt like you weren't understood, maybe as a small baby coming out of the womb crying, you just want to be understood. You just want to be held. You don't want to be in these bright lights. You don't want to be in this basket. You want to be back in that womb where it's nice and comfy, tight, safe. Maybe you haven't felt understood. Maybe you don't even understand yourself. Maybe you're trying to figure that out. Allow yourself to feel understood. Maybe it's somebody else understanding you. Maybe it's allowing yourself to understand you. Maybe just walking through this today helps you better understand some of these feelings and patterns that you've been going through your whole life and not understanding why. Or maybe just walking to Jesus and letting Him say, I understand. And last but not least, love me. Again, maybe somebody comes up that you just want to feel loved by. Maybe you need to love yourself. Or maybe you're ready to just walk over to Jesus and say, thank you for loving me. Feel that love. When you're ready, open your eyes. How's everybody feeling?
It's like, wow.
Like that, just like wow.
When you were going through the hold me and hear me, support me, see me, understand me, and love me, it's like with everyone I could think of scripture, and he says, with love me, I will never leave thee nor forsake thee.
John, can you do me a favor?
Yes.
When you get done, we get done here, can you send me all the scriptures for each one?
Yeah.
And I'll share that in the email.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
You can continue to share anymore. I just asked him to share.
Yeah, it was just amazing. And just the whole experience. I remember, when my parents were getting divorced and my dad had already left us. And then when my mom, I'm like, we were someplace and I asked my mom, where's daddy? And I was young. And she said, he has left and he's never coming back. And I was inconsolable crying. And, now just this exercise was like, wow. Then I just have this picture of Jesus being there. And I don't know, it's just amazing. And then there were other times with different things where Jesus has given me, I've had that story, and then Jesus has rewritten that story for me. And it's just been amazing. So this is like, wow.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, like I said earlier, it's amazing just why I like this affirmation. I embrace all of life's experiences because we cannot change the experiences we have, but we can look at them from a different perspective. right? And you just did that, right? You just said, picturing that, but then realizing, you know what? I wasn't really alone. He was right there all the time, right? Hi, Donna.
Hi, can I share something?
Yes, please do.
Thank you so much for doing this. This is the first time I've been able to join you.
Yeah.
It brought up a feeling of abandonment that I had never realized before. My dad was an alcoholic and we were pretty poor. We lived in seven of us lived in a three-room apartment. And I wanted this doll for Christmas. We very seldom got anything for Christmas big. We got one thing and I wanted this doll for Christmas. And I had three brothers. And I got the doll, and I was so excited that somebody actually heard that that's what I wanted. Well, my brothers took the doll and tore the arm off of it at Christmas. And everybody said, "Oh, you big baby, quit crying. That was no big deal." I realize now that that was a complete abandonment of my whole family. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. Yeah. And some of the words that you just said there, right, are we can see that right there. You didn't feel supported, right? You didn't feel
Never,
understood. You didn't
never,
feel loved, right?
never,
You didn't feel heard,
never.
right? And so going back, again, we don't have to find these memories, they just come up, right? And I want you to know when they come up, that means they're ready to be healed. Okay.
Yes,
And so a lot of times we just want to push that back down. Oh, I don't want to remember that, right? Like that was bad. I just want to think of the good things, right? But the problem is that has affected you all these years in a way that now you're able to release and move on, right? You can embrace that life experience. It has made you who you are today, right? And the good parts of that we can take forward, and the parts that we're like, oh, I don't really want to take, we don't have to take those forward. This is a new day, right? We get to start with today and embrace those life experiences and move forward. So thank you for sharing. And thank you for getting to join us.
yes.
So I have on our reflection sheet here, which of these six attachments were unmet in your childhood, right? And most of us can probably feel all of those, right, at times. Um, and some of those might be showing up in our adult life. Okay. And I want you to understand because mom, shared like she remembers that day too that I had. And a lot of these attachment needs that we had, it's not that there wasn't maybe somebody in our life that wanted to meet them. Maybe they were doing the best they could, or maybe it's just we couldn't feel it. Okay. And I share this because, again, as an adult, we can't go back to our childhood and say, I wish I was held more, or I wish I was just heard more, or I wish I was just supported more, right? Because the truth of the matter is, if we were holding on to this abandonment, it doesn't matter how much we were held, how much we were loved, no matter how much we may not have felt it. Does that make sense? And if we couldn't feel it then, we may have a hard time feeling it today. So if you find one of these today, and I'm going to be vulnerable and share with me, I always feel like no one understands me. That's why I repeat myself 100 times. And I repeat myself in different ways. So I will share with the person that I feel like, oh, they're only going to understand it if I share this story. Or they're only, and it makes me a very good teacher, right? But it's out of this attachment need of not feeling heard, okay? Which can come to people pleasing and over apologizing. And it can look other ways too, right? I'm sorry you didn't understand me. Well, let me explain it this way, right? Okay. And so I just want y'all to have this sheet to be able to kind of utilize, not to try and find all the trauma that we've gone through, right? But when you're feeling that feeling of abandonment coming up, you have a way to work towards at-one-ment. Okay. And as an adult, we can do that. Again, do you notice patterns of self-abandonment? Okay. So before we're done, we're going to talk about self-abandonment because I said as an adult, nobody can abandon you except for yourself. All right. And this looks like ignoring your needs. Now, I might step on some toes, whether in person who's on live or somebody that's watching, but we have some basic needs. And I'm just going to use one, which is water. Okay. We have lots of basic needs, but I often hear people say things like, I don't have time to drink enough water, or I don't like water, or, and this basic need is a pattern of self-abandonment. And I'm just using one example, right? There's like a lot of other examples that we could use. Okay. Silencing your truth. Self-abandonment can look like, I can't say this, I can't do this, I can't be this. And it can go back up to like that people pleasing. People don't understand who I am, so I'm going to be who I think others want to see or want me to be. Okay. Self-abandonment can also look like overgiving. This is where we take care of everybody else and not ourselves. That does not mean that we don't need to take care of others, especially if we have children or, someone that's not an adult that needs support, or we have somebody else in our lives that can't take care of themselves, right? Um, but so often, like there's adults around that we're trying to save them, right? Take care of them, and we're not taking care of ourselves. And this goes back to self-care. And I say this all the time, self-care is not selfish, right? And a lot of times people hear self-care and they're like, oh, well, I don't have time or money to go get a manicure. That is not self-care, y'all. That's drinking 8 glasses of water a day. Okay? That's the self-care I'm talking about. Make sure you're nourishing yourself spiritually, emotionally, and physically. Okay? So, when we think of it that way, that as an adult, I have to take responsibility that nobody can abandon me. I'm an adult. Okay. Now that doesn't mean people can't leave and that it doesn't hurt. I'm not saying that. We need to feel those emotions too, but they are different. It's in a different um process that's happening. Okay. But as an adult, we're responsible for taking care of ourselves now. So though no one else can abandon us, we can abandon ourselves. And if we're holding on to these emotions of abandonment from birth to however long, right? It becomes a pattern of self-abandonment. And so today, by walking through this process, you've taken a step because just being here or watching this replay, y'all just took a step, even if you just took one step. Okay. So, I want you to remember that healing is a process. When we regulate our nervous system, which is what we're doing, we're able to shift and let go of what has been holding on to from birth and even generational. Okay. Every step you take to recognize and to shift emotional patterns like we did today, like abandonment, brings you closer to safety. Who feels a little more safe in their bodies right now? We can feel more fulfilled because instead of holding on to this, oh my gosh, someone's going to leave me, and realizing I need to be here for me. And Jesus, God is always going to be here with me. Donna said, like, she can go back and go, oh, my dad might have left, but he was still here with me, right? And meaningful connection. This isn't just about us spending time with only ourselves, right? We can think about, I'm going to go ahead and just bring those people in our lives, they need to be held and we need to be held. So in 2025, and I've been married, I'm going to be married 33 years next month. And I'm going to be honest, y'all, like, I don't necessarily want to spend a whole lot of time being held. But I need it, right? So one of my New Year's resolutions, whatever you want to call it, because it happened at New Year's, it wasn't really a resolution, but I wanted to be more intentional about not only hugs, right? But just my husband and I laying together with my head on his shoulder for more than 30 seconds. Because usually about 30 seconds, I'm like hot and I'm like, my husband is so nice. He like turns down the air conditioner so that it's nice and cold before we get into bed, just so we can at least snuggle for 2 minutes, right? And it's been so nice. Okay. Hear me, right? Other people in our lives need to be heard. If we're always talking, we can't hear them. If we want to be heard, we need to listen to others. Okay? Support me. Encouragement to explore. Okay? I've been working really hard on supporting my youngest on this exploration that he's going to be taking in a few months, right? And I also need to be supported as I'm going through this life change of my baby leaving, right? See me. I heard this the other day and I've been practicing it and it's kind of hard, but when we were a baby, being held in our mother's arms or anybody else's arms, when you look down, the right eye and the baby's left eye gets this connection that they found works in the brain this amazing way. So when you talk to somebody, if you look, and I know this sounds weird, but your right eye to their left eye, okay, look straight into their eye, it brings up this connection and they feel seen. Maybe not consciously, it can happen subconsciously. Okay, so if you don't always feel seen, or maybe you're like, I don't want anybody to see me. Remember when I said, I don't want to be held, I don't want to be touched, right? We need it. If you're like, I don't want to be seen, you need to be seen. And others in your life need to be seen too. So this is something you can practice. Understand me. If we're not feeling understood, one step we can take is trying to understand those around us. Okay? We don't have to agree with them. It doesn't even have to be true. We just take the opportunity to understand. And that might mean, oh, I don't feel understood. I understand how that feels. Even though I can't understand why you're doing or saying or thinking what you're thinking, I understand what it feels like too. Does that make sense? And to even use the words, I understand. I understand that you're hurting right now. I understand that this is hard. I might not understand why you're doing what you're doing or that, you know what I'm saying? But that you can have that empathy and be in that I understand. And then love me unconditionally, right? We all want to feel loved unconditionally. And how we can start that is also by loving others unconditionally and knowing that Jesus loves us unconditionally. All right. I don't know if this is going to cut us off, y'all. So I'm going to say we're not going to go over criticism, but it is another one that is in here. And because I just talked about the Love Me, this is one that you can always do when you're using lavender. The location for this is on the back of your waist. So you could have gone all the way around your umbilical cord from the front and all the way around the back. This is for unconditional love and acceptance. So if you're not feeling supported, you're not feeling loved, a lot of times we hold on to this emotion criticism, which is actually just kind of a layer below abandonment. Okay, so if you always feel like everyone's criticizing you, it could be from this holding on to this emotion, abandonment, again, that we could have all the way back from that disconnect from birth. Okay. The alarm point is skin. Again, that's across the lower back. If you have skin issues, it can be related to the small intestine, which can also be related to that fear of abandonment. Okay. And then I have a Bible verse for you. Okay. So y'all have that. I will also be sending that in the replay email for everyone. And then I'd love to be able to share what Donna is going to share with us too. Okay. So Donna, if you can do that for me. And then if anybody has any questions or anything they want to say in this, like I said, actually it's saying 102 and it looks like we're still good. So I think we're good. I don't know how many minutes. It didn't say, it just said, you have limited minutes now. I'm like, well, why do I have limited minutes now? I used to have unlimited. So it didn't look like we have a rush. We're at 103. So if that, we have at least probably an hour and a half. Not that we have to go that long, but just letting you know that we do have time, I think. Go ahead, Mom.
So I have a question. So I don't know if you really want to get into it. So if you feel abandoned, like you said, with Bryce leaving, or if somebody going through a divorce or a death or something, you feel abandonment. But you're saying that as an adult, you can't really be abandoned, even though in divorce cases, if the husband leaves the wife, she can file for abandonment. Yeah. But so what is there another word that you're saying that would
Well,
be used?
it could be loss. It could be loss. It still can be grief. I mean, there's lots of other words. And I say that because it's not that you don't necessarily feel abandoned, but some of the classes that I've taken, which for me, it did help because I was like, if we're living in this fear of abandonment, oh my gosh, this person is going to leave me. Oh my gosh, this person's going to die. Oh my gosh, and I'm going to be abandoned, right? Kind of goes back to that perspective that Donna was talking about, that she was like, oh, well, yes, my dad left. And yes, she was abandoned as a child because she was a child. Somebody had to take care of her, right? And that's where abandonment comes in. Abandonment is going back to that womb and being separated from our mother, right? Everything that we had to be alive inside the womb has now changed. That was actually a season, and then birth is a new season, okay? And all those core attachments that I talked about were what the body needed, the body, not the brain, the body, that baby's body needed to let go of that abandonment pattern. Okay. Now, if one of those things did not occur or that baby didn't feel it, and there's y'all, like there's so many different ways. Again, this could be that they didn't receive it or they didn't feel it. Okay. And there is a difference, and that we're not going to get into, but that is another season. When we become an adult, no longer can we be abandoned as in not being able to take care of ourselves. Now, I say that, can an older person that no longer can take care of themselves be abandoned? Yes, especially in a lawful way or even in a marriage and stuff, but it is different to the body because, and it really goes back to if somebody can't take care of themselves, okay, and we actually see this, right? Like we'll say an older person that can no longer take care of themselves, that it's like they reverted back into being a child, right? They need a caretaker, they need someone. That person can be abandoned, okay? But all of us that can push the Zoom button that are here right now, there is an adult self of us that needs to rise up, okay? And that adult self of us cannot be abandoned. We can abandon ourselves because we are the caretaker for ourselves. If you are not the caretaker of yourself, you can be abandoned. Maybe that's a better way of putting it. Okay. So
Yeah.
again, we can be left, right? But that is different because we can still take care of ourselves.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. But the problem, I'm gonna go back to that for just a minute. If we are holding on to that emotion of abandonment, that's when we feel it. So when you have that feeling like I was having, like I'm going through this and I'm like, my brain says like my son cannot abandon me, but my heart says he's going so far, right? I have to be aware of that emotion that I'm feeling. I'm not wanting to push that down. And I'm going to be honest, y'all, I do want to just push it down. That's what I've done in the past. I just want to push it down. I am really working on allowing myself to feel that feeling. But I also need to disconnect it from abandonment because that is not what it is. He cannot abandon me. Does that make sense? And for my brain, that was helpful because now I can let go of those other emotions that can be coming up, Mom, that you were just asking. So, yes, there is some grief there. And I hate to go through grief, right? There's some sadness. I hate to go through sadness. Like, so I have to now connect some of those things that need to be let go of and released. Donna, I see that you're like, so what moment did you just have there?
Okay, so I can't, this is so helpful. My oldest daughter, um, she is 30, she's in her 30s, 37.
You have a lot of kids. It's okay if you don't.
Right, right. She's 37. And about 3 or 4 years ago, she left to be a teacher up in New Hampshire. So very far away. Her going up there to become a teacher was, we missed her, but it was fine. And we could visit her. Well, now she is in the process, the third stage of becoming a nun. And for me, that was devastating because the last time we were there, they kept saying, "You're not losing a daughter, you're gaining a family." But to me, I felt like I was losing a daughter. And you just helped me, Shauna, to put words to my feelings. I didn't feel abandoned by her, but he, I didn't I knew I cried many, many tears. And sometimes still when I think about it, I'm crying, even though I know she's happy. She loves the Lord. She loves where she is. She loves the community that she's in. So I'm happy for her, sad for me, but it's grief that I'm feeling.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, so that will help me look in my blue book and deal with grief. So that was like the okay.
So, and that's why I brought up at the very beginning that in both of the emotion code and in the releasing emotional patterns, the very first thing is abandonment. And one of the things that I learned when I first started learning about releasing emotional patterns is one, I could not tell you what emotion I was feeling. And I've shared that story before. I'm like, my brain could say, well, maybe I'm supposed to be sad right now, or maybe I'm supposed to be feeling grief right now. Or but my body, what I felt, right? A lot of times was just anger. Like I was really good. That's a pattern that just comes up for me, right? I can feel anger. And I want y'all to understand that's a pattern. So why we went back to abandonment, even if we say we don't feel it, is because it is actually the first thing that we feel as a baby. We feel cut off from our mother. Everything that we just knew. And for you going through this process, and that's why I want to say this, when I first got my blue book, I'm just gonna pull it up here. I just started going through. I started at abandonment and I was like, And I was like, oh. Oh, and I still learn more, 13 years later. The next one is abundance, right? How could abundance be even a pattern that, well, the other side is scarcity, right? Like I just started going through it and allowing myself to feel those things. Going through this process today, like I said, is just the first step. Allowing yourself to feel that feeling of abandonment and then going, oh, well, I felt that the other day when I thought about my son leaving, but he can't really abandon me. Your daughter couldn't really abandon you because she's your daughter, right? And you didn't abandon her as a child, but it can bring up these other emotions that now you can work on letting go, right? And it's okay to grieve, right? And it's also okay to be sad. And it's okay to be angry. And it's okay, right? But we don't want those to control us because we also want to feel joy. We also want to feel at-one-ment. We also want to feel all the other good, renewing feelings. And the truth is, we should feel all of those throughout the day, right? Our heart, y'all, if you look at the pattern, it goes up and it goes down, and it goes up and it goes down. And that's how we should be like, oh, I'm grieving my son. Oh, we're going to have fun today because we're going to go and have our 5 hours and $50 with mom, and I get 5 hours and $50 from Bryce. That's what we're doing today. And I'm going to have my ups. And then I'm going to be like, this might be the last time. It's just the two of us bowling. And I'm going to have my down. And then I'm like, oh, I beat him. And I'm going to be happy again. And then I'm going to be like, oh, right? That's called life. I am going to embrace all life's experiences, the ups and the downs. When we breathe, if you look at that, the pattern is up and down. I breathe in, I breathe out. Now, some of us can look at that pattern and it's like this, right? It's a little chaotic and erratic, right? And that's something that we can work on because we might be holding on to some things like we just talked about. Y'all took a step. Personally, I wrote this in my book. I just came to a conclusion years ago. I need to release emotional patterns daily. It's just something I need to do, right? It could be something I'm going with right now or something that, oh, well, everybody has been abandoned at birth. Let's just start there, right? If I don't know what else, if I don't know what I'm feeling right now, to connect with myself, I need to be able to feel. Okay. If we're like, I don't know, am I happy or am I sad? If you cannot feel something, get the book out and start somewhere. See what comes up. Because typically when we start walking through this, something will come up. And if we still don't feel anything, we just need to keep practicing because one day you will feel something. I hope this was helpful. Anybody else want to say anything before we're done?
A huge thank you. Thank you. And when you talk about all the ups and downs, this past week has been a huge doozy. And when I share the scriptures, I'll say some of it because our family could still use some prayers. Yeah.
You're actually in my prayer book. And Donna Lee, I will add you to my prayer book. And Jessica, I will add you. I'm going to write y'all's names down right now so I don't forget. So one of my favorite things right now is sitting on my back porch and have a little prayer book, and I just go through it every day and pray. So, Christina, you're already there. Mom, you're already there. So,
But it's good to see everybody, and I haven't seen Jessica in a long time. So hello, Jessica. Thinking of you and love you and praying for you and everybody. I don't think I know Donna Lee.
Dawn, I'm glad you're here. And Christina, it's great to see you.
Yes, and Christina too.
Yep, everybody. Shauna, thank you so much for this.
you're welcome. I'm not sure the date yet for June. We will do one, but I am going to be on vacation to Disney World with my family.
How fun.
during the time that we normally do this. So I'm gonna look, and then I will send what emotion or what oil we're gonna use. We might get to more emotions or not. And then if y'all are interested in learning more about these core attachment, there is a little bit more information about it. Might try and set up this summer a time that we can just do a little master class on it and go a little bit deeper, dive a little deeper, if anybody's interested. But great to see you, ladies. And yeah, hope everybody's having a great day. And feel free to message me, Donna, with those information and anything else you want to share. And again, it's good seeing everybody. Love you, ladies, and talk to you.